So now we're going to add selection into our story. Now I've already got my code set up here, and I've got a map and I've got some sprites in it. I've got my player sprite here, and I've got Q1 here for my first question, and Q2 is further down the map. You can see these have been placed where they need to go. Now here I've got my overlap, and this is already set up, so it says sprite of kind player, which is me, overlaps with other sprite of kind Q1, which is this one, so you've got to match that Q. A really common mistake is that this hasn't been changed to select the correct kind, and that's when your overlap won't happen. I immobilize my sprite by turning the movement down to 0, and I move it so it's 2 tiles to the left of the sprite after it's actually overlapped, and you can see it jumps back. And then little conversation and the story plays out. And now we're going to put in the question, which is going to include our use of selection, where we're going to use this logic menu here. But first we've got to put the question and the answers in. So I'm going to go to story, on sprite says again, and drop that in with the correct sprite, which is my sprite 2. So here we're matching the names of the sprites, not the kind. And just what is my name? And in the story it would have given a name. In this instance we're going to call this sprite Sarah. So I'm going to click on story again, go down, and I want show player choices. These are the options the player has to pick from. So I can type in Sarah and then Bob, which is just a wrong answer. So we've got those 2 answers there and there. When we run through it, you'll see how these appear. But now we've got to put in our selection. And selection is a key concept within computing. It's where the program makes a choice based on an input that it's given. So here we want this if-else block. So we want it to do something if it's true or if it's false. So we take that block and we drag it into the workspace and put it underneath the choices. And now we need to fill this sort of stretched hexagonal space here. We go back to story, scroll down, and we've got this last answer equals block. So we can take that, we put that in there, and we simply tell it what we want the correct answer to be. Now you could type it in, but it's case sensitive, and if you accidentally put an extra space in, that's going to class it as a wrong answer, even though it might look right. So the simplest thing to do is select your answer, copy, and paste. And that way you know it matches exactly. And if you're working from your questions on a sheet, copy and paste your question, your answers in, and then copy and paste it here, and you'll have no problem. So this first space here is if the answer is correct. The second space here is if it's the wrong answer. So first thing, I'm going to go to info, because this is where lives and score are. I'm going to change score by 1 if it's a correct answer. If it's a wrong answer, I want to lose a life. In both instances, I need the character to be able to move again. So I'm going to control the block, put that in. You can see I'm doing both at the same time. You could do the one and then the other if you want. That's entirely up to you. Here with the right answer, you then got a choice. I'm just going to change the kind that this sprite has so that I can just walk past it and so the question doesn't trigger again. For this, I go to the sprite menu. I'm scrolling down till I've got the overlaps bit where we'd find the container block, but I want the set my sprite to kind player block. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to drop that in here. But I need to make some changes because it's not my sprite I need to change, and this is a common mistake. It's my sprite 2. So I'll change that there. And to create new kind, or to kind, I need to create a new one, and I'm just going to call it answered. Click OK. And that means I can walk past it again. And then this process, this block, is the same for every question. So you could put some other message in here as well if you want to. But now if we run this through, we can see I'm getting the text coming up. But what I'm going to do this first instance, I'm going to get the answer wrong. And you'll see 2 hearts then appear here because you start with 3 by default. So we're going to pick Bob. Obviously we got it wrong, but now we can move again. You see here, you can see the D-pad light up as I'm pressing the arrow keys. I can't move. That's where we've immobilized it here. But again, we've had our story. We get a second chance now. What's the character's name? It's Sarah. So I'm going to press A. It's a right answer. The scores have gone up, and now I can walk past them because I've changed it. Then I come up to my next sprite, and what I do is just duplicate this and change all the relevant sections. Anything that says my sprite 2 becomes my sprite 3. And the kind changes from Q1 to Q2. And then we leave this answer. We just change all of the text that goes in and repeat that process as we go through.